Hey guys, in this video I'm going to explain how every Anemo character got their vision in Genshin, as well as compare this vision to its equivalent Safra in the Tree of Life. If you need more context as to how Saffras work beyond that point, you can look at the first 5 minutes of my Dendro video of the same series, or my Light video of the same series. Alright, so let's just jump straight into it. So in the Tree of Life, this Safra is known as Foundation. It is about dreams and imagination. Some of its traits are like selflessness, altruisticness, loyalty. To me, having imagination and dreams is freedom, which is why I believe in Genshin they call this vision freedom instead of foundation. However, being fixated on freedom isn't going to earn you a vision. As I've said many times, its egotistical desire is not the key, it's its distraction. So the key to unlocking this Safra or vision is a few things, but that all boil down to pretty much one thing. So 1 is being hit with a personal truth. 2 is honesty, even if it's twisting words. 3 is a drive to verify a connection in a task. And 4 is testing authenticity. Things like this is how you would obtain this vision. And the core point of all of these things is basically truth. But don't think that it's that simple. It's not about not being lied to or about not lying. First, you already have to be resonating with this Safra or vision in the first place. And next, this truth has to be so powerful and monumental that you get spiritual knowledge, gnosis, from this very action or truth. It's also pretty clear that this vision or Safra works well with others, because this one is a balancing point, similar to how the light vision or Safra was a balancing point as well as the crown will be. Which is why this vision or Safra is also about unifying communication, contact, and connection with the external realities with the soul. In the Tree of Life, this one is kind of like the first one that you're supposed to embark on before you branch out and start unlocking all the other ones, which is why it may seem like this one may be the easiest one to obtain. However, it's not really. It just is dependent on what kind of soul you resonate to. For instance, if they didn't actually show us what visions each character has and you wanted to figure out what they were before they revealed it, an easy way to figure it out would be to look at their characteristics and look at their traits. For instance, for Anemo, they're gonna have this kind of specific mentality to them where it's like you could tell that they have clarity, they have peace of mind, they have calmness within their soul because they figured something out. They've been enlightened by something secret that where everyone else is not in tune with, which is why they end up being isolated. They feel separated from the common man, like everyone else just doesn't get it. They just don't understand. And therefore they can't even talk about the things they want to talk about. They can't explain this to other people because they're not going to get it, which is why they end up being loners with the common man. As for the people who have unlocked Safras and visions themselves, yeah, they can get along with these other people very easily. So it's not really like that people don't like them or that they don't like people. It's just that they've realized something that other people aren't going to get until they experience it themselves. For instance, let's say you were abducted by a UFO. You're not going to run around and tell everybody because everybody's going to think you're crazy. But if all of a sudden there's like a UFO above Central Park and everybody could see it, then you could be like, yeah, that's the same kind of ship that took me, you know. Then you're not going to look as weird because now it's socially acceptable. Other people get it. This is kind of what it's like for Anemo, where they hit some realization, some spiritual knowledge, and it's just not easy for them to communicate with other people. Other people just don't understand. For instance, and first, Xiao. Xiao doesn't actually know how he obtained his vision or when he obtained his vision. However, we could look at his characteristics to see if he has the requirements for Anemo itself, right? And he does have altruisticness, selflessness, loyalty, honesty. He does have this enlightened feel about him, like he's aware of something higher that we just don't get yet, kind of thing. Like he understands something on a spiritual level that everyone else just isn't aware of yet. This is how the Anemo character should be. Like they are in tune with something that everyone else just doesn't see. I'm not implying that Anemo is completely enlightened. However, they've taken the first steps. They've seen past the veil, which then reveals to them the reality of this world, which is running contrary to what everyone else believes, the system and the rules and how the very fabric of this reality works. They see past it and they see that it is a delusion, it is a lie, it is false. But how can they explain that to the visionless? And therefore they can't, so they don't try, which is why they end up loners a lot of the times, like I said before. Next is Sucrose, and Sucrose is an alchemist, and how she obtained her vision is she was running bioalchemical experiments specifically on dandelion seed. Though it may seem excessive, on her 159th attempt running this experiment is when she unlocked her vision. And if that doesn't seem to make sense as to why, you have to look back at what I said at the beginning, which is drive to verify a connection in a task, testing authenticity, which would lead one to the truths of this reality. And this is how you obtain a vision and why she obtained the vision. She was also so fixated on experiments that when her vision materialized in the flask itself, she left it in there to run experiments on the vision itself, because she's constantly seeking to understand the rules and the boundaries of this reality. Similarly to Sucrose is Farazan. And Farazan is a genius on a level perhaps without equals besides someone like Alice, which is not really a fair comparison. But anyway, what happened to her is she got trapped in a temple. I think a puzzle closed on her or something like this, and she was stuck in there for about 100 years until she solved the puzzle and managed to get herself free. You may be wondering, like, she's not very smart if she can't solve the puzzle, but realistically anyone else who would have got trapped in that situation perhaps would have never found their way out of that dungeon. They would have never solved the puzzle, including myself. I probably would have been in there for all of eternity. I don't know, but she is extremely intelligent, and it took her 100 years to solve that puzzle. That puzzle was pretty much unsolvable to everyone else, is my point. So that's not taken away from the fact that she is a genius. So how she actually obtained her vision was she was trying to solve a puzzle inside of a dungeon. Perhaps a drive to verify a connection in the task, perhaps testing authenticity. Regardless of the reason, she was so fixated on trying to solve the problem and come to the truth, the reality of the matter, and solve this problem, that she even forgot to take into consideration her own physical state of being. Like, for instance, consuming substance, which led her to passing out because of this very reason. However, her unyielding pursuit of truth, to trying to solve this problem, to figure it all out, granted her her vision in this moment. So when she finally awoke, it was in hand. And this is how she obtained her vision. Next is Jean, the acting grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius. Jean didn't have the easiest of times, as she had the Fatui within the city of Mondstadt itself plotting their demise, as well as having the Abyss Order on the outskirts of Mondstadt constantly probing and attacking their defenses. Though Jean remembers quite well how she obtained her vision and when she obtained her vision, she doesn't really reveal this to us. However, I want to note a few things. First, her diplomacy with the Fatui, as well as her personally leading the Knights of Favonius into battle to defeating the Abyss Order, is not only showing the balance that many other visions lack, but is also the reason why she got her vision. Not the action itself, but when she actually had time to reflect and look back on all she had done, is the moment I believe that Jean is describing to us, when she's claiming that the world started to fade away, when all that echoed through her mind was the time-honored motto of House Grenhilder, which is for Mondstadt as always. What happened here in her reflecting is she figured something out. Perhaps she finally fully comprehended the motto, or perhaps it was some personal truth. Whatever this world-changing realization was, it granted her her vision. Next is Sayu, and Sayu is a ninja who always dreamed of becoming taller, because she felt that it hindered her progress during missions and so on, as well as it limits her strength capabilities. However, despite these viewpoints she had, she always came back from her mission successfully. However, on one mission, she ended up getting badly injured, and she wasn't going to make it all the way back, so she hid somewhere, and because of her small size, she was able to hide somewhere easily and go undetected while her body passes out and starts to recover from her injury. When she had awoken, she found out that she was still completely undiscovered. Her small size did it for her. She realized, like, the things that she thought were her weaknesses, in truth, made her better at ninjutsu than other people that may be bigger and stronger or faster than her, as ninjutsu is more about stealth. It's about obfuscation, it's about subterfuge, it's about going around undetected, not about being the greatest or strongest warrior. And her looking innocent helps. Her being short makes it easier to hide. Full squad of shinobi won't be as successful as Sayu on her own can be. I'm not sure if she completely realized this in this moment, but she realized at least some of this, because when she reached for her pouch of ninja tools, it was no longer there. She lost it when she was fleeing, but in its place was her newly acquired Anemo Vision. and this is why and how she obtained it. However, despite these facts, she still wishes to be taller, which is why she sleeps so much. She believes that one of the keys to getting taller is to get a lot of rest. I really hope that Genshin pursues character progression, because I really want Sayu to either get taller one day so she'll be happy, or she learns to accept herself and be happy with that. I think that would be really cool. Next is Kazuha. After Kazuha pretty much lost every single thing in his life, he became a Ronin and just wandered around. He got his vision simply by trying to find peace and balance with nature and all living things. One day while taking shelter from a storm, he was just contemplating all of this, and he felt completely at ease. He felt at peace in his soul. He finally obtained peace of mind, calmness of the soul. He finally felt content. Him understanding this is what granted him his vision, at least his Anemo vision. In my Electro video, I explained how he got his Electro vision as well, which is that he had to tap into the resonance of the Electro vision, but he couldn't maintain it, which is why he lost it. Since Anemo is the balancing point for Geo and Electro, he also has just as good of a chance to be able to tap into the Geo vision in the future. Next is Hazel, and Hazel has a pretty intricate story. See, what happened was, when he was younger, he had a certain friend that he thought was wealthy, but his friend would always show up with ratty clothes and, messy hair, a little bit dirty. He couldn't figure out why this was the case, so he questioned his friend about it. He's like, are you actually rich? Because if you are rich, why do you dress like this? Why do you look like this? And his friend kind of confessed to him that he's not actually rich, and all the gifts he had given him were actually stolen. But he felt relieved to be able to confess this to Hazel. However, Hazel threw a fit. He was so infuriated about this, about being lied to, about this dishonesty, and even the act that you're doing this, you're stealing items and stuff like that. This infuriated him. And so he told him, like, you're not my friend, and he pretty much kicked him out of his life. And when he got home, he tried to get rid of the gifts that his friend gave him. He tried to toss it out the window, but it bounced back and rolled under his bed, which just infuriated him more. Hazel had a lot of pent-up rage in him. Sometime later, he ran into his ex-friend who was in dire trouble. He had come to some realizations by then. So when he saw his friend again, he ran up to him and wanted to aid him instead of leaving him to his own misfortune. The reason why Hazel got his vision is because he realized that he doesn't hate his friend. The act of stealing and lying and being deceitful or murder isn't the person's fault. It is this external abstract darkness that he wants to spend the rest of his life combating. He wants to defeat this, including the darkness within himself that made him judge and cast his friend away rather than being there for his friend and accepting him. This realization that he has come to is the very reason why he obtained his vision. Next is the Wanderer. And the Wanderer is a tricky one because one would expect of him to have gotten an Electro vision, right? Because he is a clone, he's a puppet of L, right? So just like the Raiden, you would expect him to be Electro. It's logical, right? However, he ends up being Anemo. Why? It's for the same reason that one of Albedo's clones was Cryo and not Geo. It is because they had lived different lives. So though they may have started as the same person with the same DNA and the same starting point of perhaps even memories and data, you're going to end up living a different life. So you're going to see things from a different perspective, and therefore your soul's going to resonate at a different frequency, because everything you're perceiving, everything you're doing, everything you're thinking about is going to be different depending on where you sit in society, what kind of life you had to endure. This is gonna dictate your choices. This is gonna dictate how you perceive things. So Scaramouche, in comparison to the Wanderer, they both lived different lives, and therefore their souls resonate to a completely different frequency, and therefore they would both have obtained different visions once they reached the requirements. So how exactly did the Wanderer get his vision, in case you have forgotten or you didn't play the story yet but you want to know ahead of time? So what happened was, Scaramouche wanted to delete himself, to get rid of all of his memories, all his painful memories from his past. So he just wanted to remove himself from the timeline. However, he couldn't do it. So all he could do was to kind of edit what happened in the past, therefore altering reality around him, right? and also changing his own memory so he wouldn't remember these painful things. So he ended up living a completely different second life without any memories of his old life, making him pretty much a completely different character who has completely different views on reality. His life, however, still isn't great, and he does feel like he's lacking something, like he's missing something, and he wants to get it back. Nahida, Paimon, and the Traveler help him regain his lost memories and be complete. So in the very act of him regaining all of this lost knowledge, all of this lost data, all of these truths that he had forgotten, but with his new mindset, with his new perspective on life and everything, it made him process this data differently than he used to, as well as because he was resonating with the Anemo Vision, and then him acquiring all of this truth is exactly what he needed to get the Anemo Vision, and so he got the Anemo Vision. Next and finally, at least for now, is the Anemo Archon himself, Venti. So as you're likely aware by now, Archons don't actually have visions. However, they do completely embody the whole point of each vision that they represent. So much so that it's like pulsing out of them. It is pouring out of their every pore. Like it is an overabundance of the whole point, the whole aspect of whatever vision or Safra they're about. So Venti should embody the Anemo traits more so than every single other Anemo character. What are the traits again? They were like altruisticness, selflessness, loyalty, imagination, and dreams, leaving others unified with clarity and truth and peace of mind. There's a few things here that may get a little bit tricky because you may think that Venti is not really honest. He doesn't really tell you the truth, but you gotta remember, it's supposed to be truth even if it's twisting words. You're getting to the point, you're leading the person to the correct path, even if it's not what they assumed you thought it meant, which is clever for him to be a bard because he could put trickiness in his very poems and lyrics and stuff. It could be trying to portray a point without directly stating it. Even on a greater note is that his egotistical desire is freedom. So he doesn't wish to rule over Mondstadt. He wants his people to be instead free. And he's even deceiving the people because he knows if he reveals that he is the Archon, they're gonna follow him. And he doesn't want them to follow him, so he's putting on the charade that he's not the Archon, which then you would say he's lying, but perhaps he is just hiding truth so you can seek to reveal it. And if you reveal this truth and you resonate with the Anemo Vision or Safra, you would acquire the Anemo Vision just for realizing this truth that he hid. So it will be beneficial, and it might be intentional. One quick side note is I do feel that Venti should get a buff because I feel like every Archon should be the strongest and most desired of their elements. Anyway, that pretty much covers all of the Saffrats and Visions up to date. I know that some new characters have come out while I've been making this series of videos, as well as more characters in the future will be released. So when enough of them stack up, I will come back and combine a bunch of them, even if they're going to be matching elements. And I'll make a video explaining how they got their visions, why they got their visions, and how they're holding true to whatever Safra group, vision group they're part of. I don't really like giving too many spoilers because I feel like it'll be ruining Genshin's story for everyone, so I try not to. But I will give you some sneak peeks and tell you that even though these are all the known visions in the game, there's possibly going to be more visions in the game because there's some hidden ones in the Tree of Life. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to reveal too much. But if characters like that come out in the future, I will do a video on it explaining that vision and explaining why those characters fit and their story as to how they got their vision as well. But anyway, that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time.